let's get started. We have a packed agenda for the next 45 minutes where we talk about various things around Oracle Database at Azure. Let's start with the introductions, starting from right.
Hey, I'm Ram Kakani. I'm a Principal Product Manager on Oracle Database at Azure team.
And I'm Munir Mirza. I'm the Vice President of Product Management at Oracle, working on multi-cloud specifically for Azure.
And I'm Kalyan Kaki. I'm a Group Product Manager at Azure, been with the company for 21 years, and this is the best partnership for me so far. Okay, let's move on. So speaking about partnerships, a lot of you may have seen this picture. This is iconic from the fact that Satya and Larry Ellison were in the same room at Redmond announcing this partnership about, 3 years back now, right? Two of us in this room have some funny memories. We happened to be in the room. We were like 10, 15 people. There were like only 10, 15 people that were allowed to go into the room, and Ram and I were in the room. But the funny story was they had some ground rules. You cannot clap, you cannot talk, you cannot say hi to anyone. So we had to sit there, silently take everything in and enjoy the moment, right? And it was etched in our memory. So yeah, speaking about the partnership, yes, this is the new frontier that we announced together, but the partnership between Oracle and Azure has been one of the strongest enterprise stories so far. Just got a lot better with the Oracle Database at Azure, right? It's about 30 years of we jointly supporting customers who ran Oracle solutions on Microsoft ecosystem. Then about 10 plus years of partnership in cloud. A lot of you might know about Oracle certified images that you were able to use to go deploy your databases in cloud and apps in Azure. Then 2019 was starting off a new frontier with the interconnect solution, where we looked at the regions that were geographically close by. We said, hey, maybe we should do something innovative to bring Azure and Oracle together by using an interconnect technology, which meant where there is low proximity, we let customers run Oracle database workloads in Oracle, applications in Azure, have a lowish latency solution that connected both, right? Did work for a few customers, but it was not quite enough for enterprise workloads, which is where the Oracle Database at Azure journey started. Obviously, it's a new frontier, two clouds working in close coordination, never happened before. But this was absolutely a new frontier we embarked on in 2023. We'll talk a lot more about that. Let me ask Munir to speak about the partnership.
Sure. Thank you, Kalyan. So from my perspective, from Oracle's perspective, a big part of why we wanted to do this, I think, starts with the customers and works backwards. First, it's bless you, lots of opportunity for customers to figure out how to deploy their databases and applications together throughout Azure. But one of the biggest pieces of feedback was like, hey, I've been running, as a customer, I've been running Exadata for a very, very long period of time. How do I solve that problem? How do I take the performance benefits that Oracle has been espousing and get that in Azure, which is my cloud of choice? And for lots of good reasons, it's customers' clouds of choice. The breadth of 200 plus services, over 95% of the Fortune 500, tons of security opportunities, tons of AI opportunities. And so it's like, look, this made a ton of sense for us to figure out how to work together. So our partnership started with, how do we actually develop a program, both in terms of the infrastructure side and commercially, for customers to consume Exadata, the Exa hardware in Azure as if it's a native service. And I think there's a couple really, really key things about that. The first is native service. We don't want it to feel like it's this disjoint, clunky, weird thing that you would have to do that's not comparable to how you would interface with Azure today. So it's through the Azure portal. You get an Azure bill. These are really, really critical things for us that we wanted to make sure happened. The second thing is, you still get the performance that you would expect from working with Exadata. And I don't want to take that for granted. It's actually a very, very heavy lift that a lot of people in this room get to work on together. The point there is, of course, yes, it's about the Exadata racks that are being there, but there's a ton of networking that has to happen both from the OCI sort of control plane and just what's happening within Azure. So seamlessness both from the way you transact on a business level, on a commercial level, and on the technology itself. And so that's a key part of what we were looking to solve working with our customers together.
Yep. And for Azure, it is giving customers the choice, right? There are great database solutions from Microsoft, but we totally understand there's a lot of respect and stickiness to the system of record, which is Oracle. And this partnership helps us extend that optionality of what you want to do with your apps and databases together, right? Run everything like you did on premises with Oracle, and bring your apps over to Azure and integrate with the AI ecosystem. Okay, now let's move to the next one, which is removing barriers for innovation, right? Why even migrate Oracle to cloud? Maybe Munir, you should start.
Yeah, so a lot of customers are running on-prem, and one of the things about running on-prem, look, we've been talking about the cloud for a long, long time, and so it's not going to be a surprise that commercially, as your companies think about what do you do with the operating, or rather the capital expense of, procuring these servers, running them in your data centers, et cetera. So step one, data center exit, just getting out of the business of managing this infrastructure, managing the finance yourself, that's perhaps the most important, the most compelling piece of feedback that customers are telling me. And in some cases, customers have very, very aggressive timelines. In other cases, it's a little bit more deliberate. But in all cases, with a data center exit, it's about moving from the capital expense to the operating expense. The second thing, and this is the part that I get really, really excited about. This is the part that I think caused me to want to join this partnership specifically. There are so many services, both in terms of building block services that Azure has, and sort of higher level abstractions, things that are user facing. Think of Microsoft 365 or Copilot that actually expose the data with more intelligent insights to the end users. So this is perhaps the most important partnership in technology right now, because it covers end to end, all the way from the data that you have through to the services where you're doing a bunch of interesting analysis with that data, and or interfacing with that data, and of course for your end users actually doing their job every day. This is the only place that I think you can say something like that, and it's what I find super compelling about this partnership.
Fantastic. And just in general, why migrate Oracle to cloud? There are a couple of other things that have popped up a lot recently is cyber resiliency, right? Business continuity, disaster recovery has been around for a while, but cyber resiliency with all the new AI-powered threats has also become super interesting and important. So cloud is probably your best place to, not probably, is your best place to go get all the power of security baked in for you to be cyber resilient, right? It's as important as DR and business continuity. Interesting enough, we were in a conversation this morning where the general consensus was, we talk a lot about DR and business continuity. I mean, general DR as in the zonal zones going down, data centers going down, but the probability of you being hit by a ransomware attack or a cyber threat is much higher than your regions going down because of an earthquake, for example, all right? And I don't think there's enough attention being paid to that. So it's super, super important from that perspective, all right? And obviously, almost everyone is thinking about AI, getting all of it consolidated, like Munir said, freeing up your operational costs in doing this is a way for you to repurpose your IT dollars into building AI, right? And what better than having proximity to the AI infrastructure in cloud, right? Let's move on. Okay, so how many of you are already using Oracle Database at Azure or are currently thinking about using Oracle Database at Azure? Okay, so for some of you who are looking at it as a future thing, we'll do a little bit of introduction of what it is, and then we'll go into into details on what's new. There's a lot of work we are doing in many areas, and we'll cover them, right? So what is Oracle Database at Azure? Very simple slide, right? This is, like Munir said, your ability to get your high performance, resilient, Oracle infrastructure directly in Azure data centers, all right, with the ability to have licensing parity to OCI, right? In the past, there was always this licensing confusion on if I were to take it to Azure, what is my license expense, right? We solved all of this with this partnership. It is parity, licensing parity. The support was a huge problem in the past, all right? Who supports what was a huge problem. It is extremely streamlined with this offering. Oracle supports Oracle infrastructure, and they are the best people to support their infrastructure and database. And Azure supports Azure infrastructure, right? Commercially, it was always complicated to split your checks between multiple clouds. We have made it simple with making it MAC eligible, which means, yes, you still have to contract with Oracle on what is the dollar value. But if you have an existing Microsoft commitment, you can burn that commitment money with the Oracle for the Oracle contract, all right? And there's a lot. So this year in particular, there's a mainstream migration motion at Microsoft, which means every seller, every account is interested in migrating Oracle to Azure, where there's an opportunity, right? And we have a ton of fantastic partner offerings that we have announced. We'll talk more. I mean, Sue has a complete session tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, you should tune into it. And there'll be some information shared at the 4 o'clock session as well, okay? Anything you want to add?
The only thing, if you go back to that slide really quickly, the 30 regions by the end of this calendar year, that's critical. Like that's a very clear spot where you have the availability, the region availability today, where frankly, with some of our cloud service provider peers, you don't have that same level of availability. And just saying it like it is, it's the truth. One of the nice things about this partnership is that we've enabled our customers, our joint customers, to go fast. That's a proof point as to just how fast we've worked together to make this happen. Believe me, it's a lot of hard work for a lot of people and a lot of different teams at both of our companies. But hopefully what it means for you is your HA, your MAA, your maximum available architectures, and your DR scenarios are very, very well covered as a result of this. Sorry, go ahead.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now let's peek under the covers a bit here. So, I mean, it's a busy slide, but let's explain what this is, right? How did we fundamentally build this for this to be so unique and groundbreaking? Like Munir said, probably one of the most important technology partnerships of the era, right? So basically what happens is, you know OCI, there are OCI regions, there are Azure regions, all right? Here for us to bring the same Oracle service that is offered in OCI with high fidelity, what we have done is we have carved out space within the Azure regions, right? This is like an Azure zone. This is an Azure zone. Looks like my text is in white, so not visible. But this thing you're seeing in left is an Azure zone in region 1. This is also an Azure zone. What we have done is we carved out space within that region, not a building outside of Azure. It is right within Azure, right next to everything you have. There is space carved out for Oracle to roll their racks in, roll their control plane infrastructure, roll everything they roll in when they build a new region. So it's a mini region that Oracle is building with connection back to the mothership for maintaining the same control plane and everything, right? It is deeply integrated into the virtual network using a network offload technology we have built over the last 4 years, right? Which means this is seamlessly in your virtual network, right? Which means the same NCAP, DCAP, and all the security that you get out of your virtual network is extended to this, right? So physically in the same location, virtual network, same security and everything, right? And that naturally means in that subscription, you have proximity to everything, right? So for all intents and purposes, you should see this as another database service that is offered in Azure, just like PostgreSQL or SQL. It's exactly the same thing, right? The best part of this is also the portal integration, right? It is deeply integrated into the Azure portal, which means CLI, PowerShell, everything that you're used to for deploying your applications is extended to the database as well. And operationally, it is deeply integrated. There's a lot we'll talk about security in further slides, but that basically is behind the scenes, right? Now, with Azure, with the region advantage we have, We're proud to say we are probably the only cloud, we are the only cloud that supports platinum-ready applications, which means
That's right.
you have 2 zones in production. The DR region has 2 zones, which means if you need that mission-critical application for your mission-critical applications that need that 4.9 near zero or zero RPO, you have the zones with Exadata available. You have all the plumbing in terms of the Oracle services, your data guard, and all of the services available for your database. And for the application, you have the Microsoft services available. You truly can deploy a platinum-grade application in Oracle Database at Azure. And I believe that Azure is the only cloud other than OCI where this is,
That's right.
This is possible.
100%.
All right? And in way more regions than any other competitive cloud is even thinking about, right? Or can get to in the near term. Let's move on. So this is the result of all the hard work. These are just a few logos, but we have hundreds more that are not published here. The slide becomes too crazy. But these are a few logos. As you can see, it's a broad spectrum of customers. It is not like built for one segment. It is truly built for the industry, right? If you are a customer or if you are an SI, any customer you have can easily consider Oracle Database at Azure, right? Now let's talk a little bit about what customers are saying. Vinny, do you want to take this?
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. So overall, things we have heard from our joint customers, right? Because they are coming off on-premise into Azure, into cloud, right? They're naturally seeing cost savings in terms of licensing, operational efficiencies, right? They are seeing performance improvements because they get to be on the latest and greatest Oracle infrastructure. And with proximity to applications, they're obviously seeing extreme performance benefits. Then they're seeing the reliability benefits. On premises, they probably are in one zone, so they're never guaranteed for disaster recovery. They're seeing all those benefits. And having deeply integrated this into Azure for customers who have deep Azure ecosystems, they love the fact that this is something they can manage right alongside everything Azure, right? Other things you want to add?
Yeah, I'll give everybody one example. My favorite one actually is with Conduit. You know, if in the United States you've used the tolling system EasyPass, I don't know if this is the nice thing, but the truth about it is that transaction happens over the Oracle Database at Azure partnership. So this is something that they're running these Exadatas with us in Azure's data centers. The reason I call it out is twofold. One is like, this is important data, right? Like this is like your billing information, right? Like it's got details about your credit card that's got to be securely stored. It's got details about you know, other parts of your personal identifiable information, right? And so that stuff is super critical. And you got to think about all the unique ways that, you know, because they're operating across a number of different municipalities, all the unique ways that a customer, that a municipality, that a region, et cetera, would provide constraints or restrictions for how to secure that data. All sorts of very, very different ways that they have to do that. And so the nice thing is the flexibility of the solution allows them to implement that in the ways that they think is necessary. The next thing is this is real time, right? Or near real time, right? Like, so you get told and you get that bill, but they can, you know, do the metering effectively as soon as you actually get told. And so it speaks to the performance and the performance expectations, you know, that they have with us. And so from a security perspective and from a performance perspective, that Conduit example, you know, it's something that we can relate to. And so that's perhaps my favorite one.
Yep. And you'll see a lot more examples of how customers have benefited from migrating their Oracle databases to Azure, particularly Azure-first customers. You'll see a lot more customer stories, and at Ignite, we'll be super happy to share another customer story of a payment application. A lot of you probably use it today. You just don't know it will be in Azure shortly. We'll talk about it in the near future. Okay, moving on. We collectively think Oracle Database at Azure, after OCI, or alongside OCI, is the best destination cloud for you to run your enterprise workloads. We don't intend to stop. We have done a lot of late. We'll talk about some of these new things that we have done, and we'll do a lot more, right? It's already the best, and we are doing more, right? to start with, I mean, yes, 28 regions in 46 zones. This is way more than in any other cloud. I mean, the other two clouds put together are probably, one of them is in what, the first letter there, 2 regions, and then the other is probably the second letter or close by. But we are like in way more, right? We already support Exadata Cloud, Autonomous, Exascale, ZRCV, ZDLRA, Golden Gate, but this is more. Munir, you want to talk about them?
Yeah, I mean, one of the nice things is that we have kept going together, right? And I think the thing that customers expect is that the full gamut of Oracle capabilities are available through this partnership. And so we didn't want to restrict what's available. Kalyan talked about Exadata and Autonomous, but like, hey, BaseDB, Golden Gate, this is something we very proudly announced. This week actually is available generally to customers and is being rolled out. Exascale for folks who are interested in more of the multi-tenancy, and then so much more. And the thing that we can't stress enough is that as you start thinking a little bit about the future, there are a ton of AI capabilities that are both inherent in the database. With now, we did these slides together, just recently, and now it's called 26 AI. So you could see how fast we move on this partnership. But the sort of pairing with the inherent database capabilities and AI as part of Oracle, plus all of the services that you get on top of that with AI Foundry as an example, building Copilot agents as an example, like you really get to double down on what it means to provide useful AI, not just something cool, but useful AI based on the actual data that your company has. And so I do have one other thing to add once we get to the customer first programs, but you could see from a technology perspective, we're really, really invested in this relationship.
Yeah. Moving on, we already had great security story. We are breaking new barriers, and we are doing a deeper integration. We'll talk a lot more about it in a future slide. I mean, there's a demo that we'll be showing on security integrations. Happy to share the first-party mirroring to Microsoft Fabric, that is 0ETL, is now GA. We have, I mean, having great solutions is great. I mean, technically having great solutions is great, but we understand there is more support needed. So we have fantastic customer-first programs. If you have heard of the Microsoft Factory offering, what we do is for customers who have certain amount of Mac, Microsoft does offer free migration services, and that is extended to Oracle Database at Azure, right? For the partners, there are some fantastic programs that we have announced. We'll be doing a deeper dive on it tomorrow. But we now, together, we have now announced a reseller program, which means your SI can actually buy Oracle Database at Azure from Oracle and then resell it to you. We understand for some of the government customers and other customers, this is super important, and that is now available, right? With that, so like Munir said, we already had a broad spectrum of Oracle database offerings, but with BaseDB, we think the spectrum is now complete, all right? We in the past had coverage from silver to platinum because there was no BaseDB, but now with BaseDB, even the bronze MAA architecture is covered. And we are the only cloud to have the full gamut of offerings for Oracle Database at Azure. And regions, Munir touched upon this a little bit, way more regions than any competition. Like you can see, about 28 regions and 46 zones that are live. And by the end of this calendar year, we'll be in 32. And we have plans announced to do a few more in the next quarter. But we'll not stop there, all right? If you have a requirement for a specific region, please reach out to your account rep. We have found intelligent ways to expand globally, and we will continue to do that. OK? Now, let's do a deep dive on security and compliance. And for that, let me hand it over to Ram.
Thanks, Kalyan. Munir, let's get started.
Take a seat.
So, like Kalyan touched upon, we understand that enterprise security is something top of mind for every customer who's ready to run their mission-critical enterprise Oracle workloads in Azure. As you can see here, we have solved that for you and are proud to say that Oracle Database at Azure is now enterprise ready. As you know, initially when we started, we solved for identity and access management and made it frictionless with federation. Now, which means you can use SSO to OCI console, database access with your federated Entra ID, and federated identity management, right, and RBAC as well, along with audit and compliance. What we have now also enabled is basically using your Entra ID, you can actually log into the VM clusters as well. Before that, you should use a SSH into them using your passwords or SSH keys. Now you can just use your Entra IDs as well, and we have made that enabled. I mean, that's been enabled using Arc. Now, let's talk about data protection. For data protection, for long, because it is Oracle Database at Azure and it's best of both clouds, you could already use Oracle DataSafe. In terms of encryption, you could, the database comes in with encryption at rest with OCI managed keys. And for key management, for customer managed keys, you could either use OCI Vault or Oracle Key Vault. But now we've also worked with Oracle and enabled jointly integration with Azure Key Vault. And full gambit of all the Azure Key Vault services are supported. In terms of backup and recovery, as Kalyan mentioned, ransomware is pretty prevalent these days, right? You need a solution to quickly restore the service. So we have Oracle Zero Data Loss Recovery Service with near zero RPO and RTO, along with our partner Commvault certified their backup solution with Oracle Database at Azure. Let's talk about network security. In terms of network security, we have enabled advanced network features starting with new Oracle Database at Azure deployments, and we are working hard to port that back into existing ones as well. With that, we've solved for traffic inspection capabilities. You could use your favorite NVA, Azure Firewall with UDRs, and route the traffic. We've also enabled network security groups and user-defined routes on the subnets that you deploy Oracle Database at Azure at. For auditing purposes, a lot of our customers have asked, hey, enable VNet flow logs for me through Network Watcher. That's now available as well. And you can connect to your AKV or other services using Azure Private Link in a much secure fashion. And then, lastly but not least, cross-region connectivity between your primary and DR regions over Azure Backbone using global peering, or what we call as VNet global peering. Let's talk, in the last one is basically, let's talk about unified SecOps, right? In that space, we've already announced Microsoft Sentinel integration, where we've integrated initial set of matrices and logs. Now we've made it even more richer. Oracle started pumping in audit logs and events that are now in Sentinel to get much more richer insights. And with Arc, you now can also enable Microsoft Defender, Azure policies, the Entra ID to VMs that I spoke about, and also change tracking and inventory, and your security copilot. With the Defender, Sentinel integrated, you can now take advantage of security copilot to do a much more automated and innovative security and governance. Lastly, let's talk about compliance. As you can see, we have a lot of compliance certifications that we have solved for, including global and regional specific, industry specific compliance. Okay, let's move on. We spoke about TDA encryption with Azure Key Vault. Let's just go a little bit deeper into that, right? As I said, we support all flavors of AKV now. You can either use AKV Standard, AKV Premium, or AKV Managed HSM. For your production, we always advise use AKV Premium or AKV Managed HSM with a private endpoint in a much secure fashion. Let's look at a quick demo. So this is basically a demo of how you integrate AKV and store your TDA encrypted keys in AKV and create a database, or use the same keys for an existing database and encrypt it. So you need, obviously, an Exadata VM cluster that you create in an Azure VNet and a delegated subnet with advanced network features enabled. You need a AKV private endpoint and your private DNS zone and DNS updated in your OCI VCN, and a test key there. Now go to the OCI console. You'll have to create an identity connector to connect for the identity. So create an identity connector. You need a tenant ID and a token that you can get through Azure CLI. Once that's passed, you can create an identity connector. Now once that is enabled, you can use Azure. Now you need to enable Azure Key Management using that identity. So as you enable the key management, that's enabled. Now let's just go create a database with that key vault and the key that we already created earlier on. So let's go databases. Let's create a database. And in the database, under the encryption section, you'd see basically a section where you see encryption. And in that, instead of Oracle Wallet, you could now select Azure Key Vault. And then you could also do the same thing for an existing database as well. Under the encryption section, use a pre-created key vault and key that will re-encrypt the database. There you go. That's your key and the vault. We always advise to rotate the key from within the OCI console and validate it that the key is rotated. Do not delete the older versions. You would need that for your backups and restores. And also ensure you validate the connectivity to AKV on your DR as well, because you would need the DR database as well to have the connectivity to the key vault and the key, so that in case you invoke a disaster recovery, your encryption is in place. All right, we spoke about Key Vault, and we also spoke about Defender that we just announced. Now, using Azure Arc, which is basically an enabler for any non-native Azure services, where you could use, it extends Azure management to those services. So in this case, you can install Arc agent on the guests, VM guests, and you could install extensions like the MDE extension for Defender, or the SSH extension for Linux logins for your Entra ID login into your VMs. And you could also, with Azure Arc, enforce Azure policies as well. All right, let's quickly look at our Sentinel and Defender and how that all comes together into Security Copilot. In order to enable Sentinel, you would need the diagnostic settings to be enabled, where you would have to enable the log analytics workspace. So here's where we are creating a log analytics workspace, and the logs get pumped in, your audit events and the syslogs. And then automatically the pipelines are built to Sentinel. As you can see, you'll see a sample query there for a delete operation that get alerted. That's a sample alert in the Sentinel, and you can also categorize the incidents. Now, all right, there are the incidents and sample queries. That's your Sentinel. Let's now take a look at how we do Defender. Like I said, you install the Defender extension Arc, and everything else is automatically plumbed for you. So as you know, here there's a database that we've already enabled Defender for. Defender for Cloud is what you will enable here, where Defender for databases is for SQL databases and other databases. Defender for Cloud has been an ask from a lot of customers, and you can do vulnerability scanning on the VMs. Now, Sentinel and Defender are enabled. All of that comes together into Security Copilot, where Security Copilot automatically triages incidents, draws insights from your threats and incidents, and can give you great insights, thus modernizing your security. Thank you. Over to you, Kalyan.
Thank you, Dan. So, mic again. Okay. So, in essence, what you saw there was if Sentinel, Defender, these are things you have already used with apps. With Oracle Database at Azure being deeply integrated there, you have unified your security plane, right? And it's consistent, which means your CISO doesn't have to think about, and also with Entra ID, right? So you don't have to think about managing the security for your Oracle instances different than your Azure instances. So it's all unified. And all the hard work for plumbing the right level of logs, telemetry is already done for you, right? Extremely simplified, which is, again, a super critical thing for enterprises. Now, we talked about having all flavors of databases, securely managing them in a consistent way. Now, let's talk quickly about apps, all right? We have already been supporting the app patterns in Azure, be it Kubernetes, be it VMs or AVS. All of them are supported on top of Oracle Database at Azure. But we are happy to announce that Oracle and us together have supported our jointly issued support statement for Oracle first-party applications. Your e-business suite, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, EPM, retail, these are all like officially supported by Oracle, so you can peacefully bring them over to Azure, number one. Very soon, in the next month or so, we'll also be publishing reference architectures for this, which means we have, together with Microsoft and Oracle, deployed this, tested this, and are telling you what is the best way to deploy this in Azure, right? You will see that coming out very shortly, right? Moving on. So you have your database. You're building your apps. What's next in terms of your innovation cycle? You need better insights for your apps, right? So to drive better insights, we have deeply integrated Oracle databases, not just at Azure, anywhere, with our Fabric, which is our one lake, right? There are multiple ways to get your data over into Fabric. We are happy to announce that the first-party mirroring for Fabric, which is a free offering, is GA now. Yes, it does support data. It supports your standard Oracle database instances. We still have some ground to cover in terms of autonomous database and Exadata, but there's a great support for mirroring already, and we'll continue to improve that, right? If you have more of a complex data that you need to bring over, like from your Oracle applications, then Golden Gate is your best friend. And we do have Oracle Golden Gate supported as a part of the Oracle Database at Azure offering, right? And now with the announcement around Golden Gate as a part of the Oracle Database at Azure, you will be able to burn your Mac to purchase this managed service, which is new, right? And once you have your data in Azure, and particularly in OneLake, it opens up a suite of opportunities for you to run your insights on top of it, all right? With popular one being Power BI. We have millions of users that use Power BI. With data in OneLake, your Power BI is right on top of this, right? And all your AI advantage, the data agents that are in Power BI, extend naturally to your Oracle Database at Azure, right? Which means the best possible insights you can get with the tools you are familiar with and the database you use as a system of record, all there for you. Moving on, bringing data is important, running insights on it is important, but it is also important to govern the data. Purview has been a very popular tool for all of the Microsoft customers to govern data. Again, with data being in OneLake, Purview is naturally integrated into it. You can unify your data governance with Purview for Oracle Database as well, right? The innovation journey does not end there. Obviously, if you don't power your AI, then you have not gotten the full value of it, right? So to power the innovation with the clean integration into Data Lake and all of your data coming into Data Lake, your AI is right there, right? We have if you were at the session yesterday, or if you can be at the 4 o'clock session, we'll show you how it is extremely dead simple to go extend your development surface. As in, you could be building copilots with Copilot Studio, or you could be building apps with Visual Studio, or GitHub. Doesn't matter what it is. You have direct connectors to Oracle Database. If you have a single source, as in you're directly wanting to go run your AI solutions on top of vectorized data in Oracle 26 AI, the direct connectors are there. But if you have more heterogeneous data sources, and if you want to bring in your Oracle data into one lake alongside all your unstructured data, you can do it with Azure AI Search, right? Doesn't matter what your desired pattern is. All of it is possible with Oracle Database at Azure and the deep integrations we have, right? So as it pertains to productivity and AI services, if you're a Microsoft shop, you probably are exploring copilots, right? And you are already familiar with Azure AI Foundry. Like we said, these are deeply integrated, which means the integration is not just the data layer, it is at the identity layer, it is at your M365 layer as well, which means you can go directly develop copilots that can be deployed into teams, and you are like extremely productive in like no time. And you'll see a demo of it at our 4 o'clock session, right? Similarly, if you have more complex scenarios, and if you want to create agents that are both interacting with Microsoft Surface and Oracle Surface, that's also possible with our Azure AI Foundry. All right, we're almost at the end of this session. So let me summarize this. All right, I'll skip through this. To start with, for your finance team, we have made it extremely simple to go purchase this using your Mac, which means if you already have committed to a Mac, you don't have to go back to your CFO to say, hey, I need another line item to be approved to spend on Oracle. It's already in there, all right? And given it is BOIOL supported, and license, you can purchase license included, and the support rewards are there, the finance portion of it is extremely simple and straightforward. We talked about how we bring the best of Oracle into Azure, which is all the full suite of Oracle services are in Azure, right? Now pair it with apps. You have the complete pattern of apps that you can build in Azure, VMware, container, Kubernetes, everything. Now you can, we talked about security, how we have a unified security surface from the best security company in the world on top of Oracle and Azure, right? And we have the best-in-class AI, as in, if you are a Microsoft shop, if Entra ID, Teams, M365 are things that are deeply in your system, we are the only cloud that can pair it with Oracle Database and give that all natively integrated alongside the 11,000 plus models that are offered in the platform. And finally, insights. There are 30 million active users of Power BI. Imagine the power of bringing that to seamlessly integrate your Oracle Database. You have the best possible insights in the industry, right? In summary, this is, like Munir said before, the best of the technology partnership around. And in terms of any database offering from Oracle, we are farthest along. We, in fact, designed this, and we designed it so well that our competitors followed us. OK, cool. So that's the end of the session. Happy to take any Q&A.